Greeting programmer. This is Jack from MQL and Market Science. Sponsored by Dream Chasers. Welcome to this interactive tutorial on MQl5 programming. This course covers all the fundamentals of MQl5 programming, step by step. By the end, you will be comfortable programming in this language. The only way you can get better at programming is by writing code. If you are only reading the code without practicing them, you will eventually forget everything. So we highly recommend you practice programming yourselves. We use MetaEdit5 to write our MQl5 programs. The link on the description on how to download MetaEdit and MetaTrader. This is lesson 2 on chapter 1. Literal and variables. Literals are fixed values that we can use directly in our program. For example, 5, minus 12.5, c, etc. Types of literals. The most commonly used literals in MQl5 are the following. 1. Integer literals. Numeric values without any decimal part. For example, 4, minus 3, 0, 136, etc. 2. Floating point literals. Numeric value that have decimal parts. For example, 4.5, minus 3.4, 2.0, etc. 3. Character literals. A single character enclosed inside single quotes. For example, $, $2, etc. 4. Color literals. A color values start with color abbreviation CLR, example, CLR black, CLR white, etc. 5. Date time literals. Numeric value in date and time format. Now let's talk about variables. In programming, variables are used to store data so that we can use them later in program. Let's open our meta editor so we can learn how to create variables. Last time we created a folder named MQl5 Fundamental Tutorials within the Include folder, and we created our first script inside that folder. If you missed that video, the link in the description. So now we going to create out second script inside MQl5 Fundamental folder. Simple, select our MQl5 Fundamental folder, click option and select new. This window will pop up. Make sure you select script and click next. Give a name for the script. I will name it variables. And click finish. Clean all the unnecessary lines. Now we left with onStart function. Remember, the script will not operate without the onStart function. So now we are done creating the script. Let's create the variables now. There are two things needed to create a variable. 1. Variable name. A unique name to indicate the variable. 2. Data type. The type of data the variable can store. For example, let's create a variable that can store numbers of days. Numbers of days are integer numbers, which means we will use the data type int. Now we know the data type. Let's give a name to our variable. Its name must relate with the data or information it will store. In our case, our variable will store the numbers of days. I will name it days, then put the semicolon to close the statement. Here, we have created a variable named days. This variable can only store integer values. We know this because we have used int to declare the variable. To declare is to create a variable. So how can we declare a variable that can store a decimal numbers? To create variables that can store decimal numbers, we can use double. For example, let's create a variable that can store price. I will use double as a data type, and I will give my variable a name price. Here, price is a variable that can only store floating point numbers, decimal numbers. We will learn about int and double data types in detail in the next lesson. For now, let's learn how to put the values into a variable. Let's assign 3 into days variable. It's simple, just type D and the compiler already recognize we have days variable, If you click tab, it will complete the statement as it shown. Now type a equal sign, then type 3, don't forget the semicolon to close the statement. To test if 3 has been stored into our variable, let's print it on the chart. If you don't know how to print, watch, or check our first video, the link in the description. We use comment function to print anything on the chart. I recommend you to watch the first video if you missed it. Click compile to check if our script don't have any errors. We have no errors. Now let's open MetaTrader and open any chart, drag and drop our script into any chart. It works. We had created a variable and assign the value on that variable. To assign is to inset, put, or store a data or value into a variable. Let's go back to MetaEdit. To make things easy, we can also assign values during a declaration. For example, I will create the variable that will store profit and assign profit at the same time. I will use data type double, because profit is a decimal number, and give the name profit to my variable, and I will assign 50.7 to my variable and close statement with a semicolon. Now let's print it on the screen to see if it working. Don't forget to always click compile to check if your script does not have error before you test it on MetaTrader, or it won't run. Open MetaTrader and drag and drop the script on any chart. It did works. Now you know how to create a variable and assign data at the same time or after. Rules for naming a variable. 1. A variable name can only contain alphabets, numbers, and underscore. 2. A variable name cannot begin with a number. 3. A variable name cannot be a keyword. For example, int, double, etc. Tips: always try to give meaningful variable names. For example, profit is a better name for a variable that will store profit value. On the next video we will learn more about data types in MQL. Subscribe to stay tuned on the next tutorial in MQl5 fundamental module.